meeting is now called to order. Welcome to our Town of Edmonston's regular meeting for the Mayor and Town Council. I'd like to begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then we always like to begin our work session with reflection and a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I want to open the floor up for any public comment. Anyone who would like to speak, we give you opportunity now to unmute, state your name, address, or affiliation, and whatever your comment might be. All right, hearing none, we will move on with the approval of our minutes. We're requesting approval for our September 14th work session meeting minutes, approval of our September 14th regular session, and approval of our September 14th closed session meeting minutes. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve those minutes.
I will move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chester. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley. The minutes have been approved and we move on to, I'll give the floor to our acting chief Bill, who wants to recommend promotion of police officer Paris Van Buren to corporal and the promotion of police officer Luis Ortiz to police officer first class. Acting chief, I give you the floor. Unmute.
Good evening, everyone. So as the mayor said, I wanted to promote police officer Van Buren and police officer Luis Ortiz. They've been working hard. They go out here, they get DUI arrests, they stay late, they come in early whenever we need some type of coverage in the town, they do that. But my main reason for doing that as well is to retain the officers that we have. Throughout the United States, we're dealing with the hiring issue and the retention issue. And with the other agencies around us, either paying more or having more to offer, we're losing officers. So I thought by way of keeping the officers was to encourage a promotion if it was approved.
Thank you, acting chief. As we discussed, the council, the mayor and council are in agreement with you on these promotions. Are there any comments? Ms. McCauley, did you unmute for a comment?
No, I just hit the wrong button.
Okay, you can stay unmuted. Thank you, acting chief.
Thank
So
you, Mayor and Town Council.
The next item is the update of agreement with Ultimate to install a speed camera on Kenilworth Avenue. Pardon me. So would anyone like to give just a brief overview of what Ultimate, about the speed cameras? Ms. Ferguson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a speed camera contract, 3 years with 2 options for 2 speed cameras to start out with. And it's a fairly standard contract. The company will be paid a monthly fee per camera, and the remaining funds will remain with the town. They will provide information periodically as to what has come in terms of payments and what is being remitted to the town. And that's put into a lockbox that the town can then access. The town receives funds for payments, and they will pursue payments by sending out the notices. They will also appear in court on any citations that are appealed, and that's all part of the contract and what they do for the rental fee that they receive. One notable provision about this in this contract is that since Edmonston has not had cameras, speed cameras before, we don't know what the number of citations will be and whether that will cover the rental fee for the cameras each month. And so there is a fail-safe provision in the contract that prevents the town from owing any funds at the end of the contract to the contractor. And so, and there's also a check-in provision. There will be both for 3 and 6 months to make sure that the payments that the company and the town are receiving from the citations is equitable, so that we're sure that the right price is being paid. And otherwise, it's a fairly standard speed camera contract, and hopefully we'll work it well.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. It's noted that the mayor and council believe that we believe that the great thing about this speed camera is safety. The high speeds up and down Kenilworth Avenue is a bit crazy at times, and this hopefully will save lives. Any comments from the council? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion for approval of the agreement with Ultimate to install a speed camera on Kenilworth Avenue.
I'll make the motion that we go ahead with the contract and
Thank
that
you.
Mr. Barnes, Ms. Ferguson, and the chief will do the final touches on that contract.
I'm sorry. Wait a second. This is Sarah. I've been trying to get in, but I realized I had to press *6 to unmute myself.
Just Miss Tuberville, just hold up 1 second, okay? Just hold up. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Now, any discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to know, I wasn't immediately seeing in the contract what the amount is per month that we would pay over the course of the 3 years to Element.
As part of the motion that was just made, that is still under negotiation. The company is requesting $20,000+ a month per camera, and the council is not agreeable to that number. So we will be negotiating a lower amount with the company. Plus, there will also be check-ins at the 3 and 6 month time period to make sure that the payments are equitable on both sides.
So, Ms. Tuberville, I know you weren't privy to that information because we had the meeting prior to and briefly last week. So in order to, we want to approve to go forward with it, but also make the adjustments that are necessary concerning the monthly payments.
I guess I'm wondering why we would approve a contract that we don't even know what the amount is for the contract.
Because no matter what, we cannot lose any money on this contract. And the biggest thing about this contract, it will save lives. By having these cameras out there, eventually people will get the idea they need to slow down.
They Ultimate agreed to language that the town attorney presented that protected the town from any loss of money in terms of anything that would fall less than what revenues collected at the end of the contract period would be forgiven as null and void, and the town would not owe it. So what the only issue right now is that we just believe that starting off, we're going to look at this at 3 months and then again at 6 months. We just thought that the number of $21,725 per camera was too high. And so they're going back to lower that number. But the town has no exposure of any kind for loss. The revenue from the cameras is going to cover all costs.
So in our discussion earlier, there was a cost, a price. We thought that it was a bit high, as Mr. Barnes just said. So that's the reason that we're going back to have it, tweaked a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I understand all that. I would just say that even if this was $10,000 a month, which is half of what the current, suggested rate is from this company, that's $120,000 a year. Looking at our red light camera, we rarely have gotten that kind of revenue from it. And I'm not suggesting that the camera is only for revenue, but certainly that was like a pretty significant piece of why we would want to do this in our community. Otherwise, it seems like if we're that concerned about safety on Kenilworth, that we should just park some officers there. I also don't think that that this is a total wash, because it costs, Rod's time. It's going to cost like whoever the new chief is going to be, their time, because things invariably are going to come up with this. And so I just want to be cognizant that it seems like this is something that in the end is just going to put a bunch of money in a private company's pocket. So I just want to flag that.
To me, it's all about the safety of slowing down that traffic. And they're taking all the risks. They go to court. They review all the photos. They send them over to us, the ones that they want to go ahead with. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's the money we would make would be nice, but more importantly, the lives that will be saved by pedestrians crossing the road or by others being hit, car accidents, and we've had some pretty bad ones up on Kenilworth Avenue. So to me, this is definitely a no-brainer.
Absolutely. All right. Do you have any more comments, Ms. Tuberville?
Just for the payment structure, do we pay them monthly? Like, how is this going to be no exposure for us? Like, do we only pay them after the 3 years? Like, how does that work?
The funds that come in from violations are put into a central location. And then a determination is made as how much has come in, and their rental fee would come out of that. And if there isn't sufficient amount to pay the rental fee, that debt is kept track of by the company and is paid back if there's more money that comes in the next month. But there's no request that the town issue a check.
Okay.
Okay.
What he described on the call this evening, the representative made it sound like we could potentially end up in the red, like we could end up with a negative balance, and that is what they would be forgiving at the end of a contract year. And so if the revenue doesn't meet the monthly rent that we're paying them, with the monthly fee, then we would end up with a negative balance at the end of the year. And that's the new terms that we've negotiated, that they would null and void that out.
And another good point that was made is initially when this camera goes live, that we won't be invoiced. When the camera goes live, there's a 2-week warning period. And then, I don't know if I should say that. Well, that's okay. Everybody knows that. 2-week warning period. And then as tickets are written, in any funds, we're allowed time for funds to come in before we are invoiced, which will be February. So it kind of ensures that we won't be in a hole in a sense. Okay. So did you have any more questions, Ms. Tuberville? With that,
No, thank you. Thank you.
thank you. So I just want to call the motion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I can hear you. Ms. Chester?
Aye.
Well, thank you. All right, motion, Ms. Tuberville, are you voting?
I'm a nay.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you so much for your participation in that. Nay. All right, next item is the rejection of the bid from ENR Services for the Crittenden Street resurfacing. The amount of the bid was over budget of 91,000 some. Well, it wasn't over 91,000, it was over 91,000. Okay. The bid that came in, the budget was 91,000. The bid that came in was 200,000, which was over that budget. Yes. So the motion is to reject that bid because it was the only bid that came in so that we can rebid. We're going to retweak the bid request and then, hopefully we'll get some more bids in. So that's the motion, to reject the bid from ENR Services for the Crittenden Street resurfacing.
I'll make the motion to reject the bid from
Thank you.
ENR and send it out for new bid.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Is there any, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Ms. Tuberville, are you voting?
Yes, I said aye.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's because I can't see you, but okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. The next item is the review and approval of the Stormwater Management Best Practices Grant Program for flood mitigation assistance to our residents. I'm going to let Mr. Barnes unmute.
I thought we were going to table that.
You are absolutely correct.
All right,
Thank
everybody
you.
can go home for the night.
Thank you so much. I meant to do that at the beginning of the meeting to if there were any, I meant to approve that agenda and thank you so much, Ms. McCauley. Is there a motion to approve the review and approval of the Stormwater Management Best Practices Grant to give us an opportunity to just retweak it a little bit based on the conversation that we had during our work session?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCauley. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chester. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Motion passes. So the next item is the consideration of approval of purchasing lights and garland for the light poles on Decatur Street from Mosca Design at a cost of $17,000 using our ARPA funds. As Mr. Barnes highlighted, last year we did install electrical outlets so that we could make this purchase or so that we could actually do things such as this. And it's a one-time purchase. Mr. Barnes, you can unmute.
Yes. The good thing is we buy these, they should last for a number of years. as long as we store them properly and they're well produced. And so the lighting and the garland will be wrapped around the poles and plugged in and turned on.
All righty. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of lights and garland for our light poles that are on Decatur Street? Or our main street? Thank you, Ms. McCully. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I'm still a bit with the sticker shock.
Well, there's opportunity for discussion, Ms.
I know.
Ms. Chester.
It's my own, like, I might vote no.
All right, and Ms. Turbeville, did you vote?
Yeah, that's really high. And we'd also talked about like not sort of having all of these charges on the ARPA funds without having confirmed what we needed to set aside for the grant program for residents for flood mitigation.
So we are setting aside money for our residents. What do you, I'm sorry. You're saying what? So go ahead. You said no, right? Ms. Turbeville?
Yeah, I'm saying no. I mean, I'd like to know, right now I'm saying no. I'd reconsider this if I knew how much it was that we were setting aside for the flood mitigation grant program for our residents.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish calling the vote, and then we can always go back again. It's not a problem. So I have Mr. Johnson, Ms. McCully is a yay, Mr. Johnson is a yay, Ms. Chester is a no, and Ms. Turbeville, you're saying no, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'll break the tie and say yay, because I know that we'll go over the ARPA funding for you. And we started this venture of lighting up our main street. And I'd like to continue with that. If we decide that we don't want to take as much from our ARPA funds, maybe we can allocate it from some other funding. When we have the opportunity for discussion, this is what we need, is that discussion, during that discussion, so that if we need to change the motion at all, I mean, because we can do that. So I said yes. So it's cool to make the purchase, but offline, I presume you can get the funding information because we're retweaking it. And I think we're going to come up with a great decision. I know that we talked about, I'll go back. We talked about funding a pot, sort of, so to speak, and the number isn't at the top of my head. We didn't necessarily say that every resident would get 4,000. I think that was a recommendation. Initially, it started at 2, but we have the pot of money based on, I think, 2,500. Mr. Barnes, is that correct? Based on 2,500 each resident, but some residents, as Ms. Chester pointed out, might do 900. Another resident might need 2,500 or even maybe 3,000. But we have the sort of first come, first serve. What we have in the pot based on 2,500 is what we have in the pot. And we talked about quite a few other things, contractors, so on, receipts, going to the county to get certain services done, their submittal to town hall being reviewed, you know, and directing them to different avenues.
Yeah, wait.
So we discussed that.
Wait. You gotta wait.
So yeah. So that's basically, I don't know the total number, Mr. Barnes. that we set in the pot? But,
Oh,
but
I
to-
think we indicated right now, based on what we were projecting as 100 applicants at $2,500 or $250,000.
right, and that's the range. It's not saying that they can't, according to what is needed or what is approved. You know, it's not saying that they can't go. Am I stating it correctly, guys? Is that what we said? That some might go over a certain amount?
We said there's other
Right.
avenues to pull in other money from other grants to help out. But I thought we, pretty much $2,500 until
Basically,
first come, first serve.
yeah.
But luckily, we get to talk about that at the next meeting.
Yeah. Sarah, you know, Ms. Tuberville, that you can always contact me or Mr. Barnes in reference to that. Mr. Barnes is very well versed in it. Okay.
Hillary has her hand up.
Oh,
I didn't, I was fixing my face.
okay. So we're gonna move on to the consideration of approval to purchase a new boss from Trailer and a new boss from Trailer and Tractor in the amount of $7,585. It's a snow plow. And Mr. Barnes indicated that the snow plow that we have is about 5 years old and has been running and running and running. And we know how important a snow plow for our municipality is. Never can tell when that snow is coming in, and they have to have equipment that functions properly. So this also would be from our ARPA funds, which is a great idea for it to come from our ARPA funds in $7,585. So at this time, I'll accept a motion to consider the approval to purchase a new boss snowplow from Trailer and Tractor in the amount of $7,585. Is there a
I
motion?
make a motion to purchase.
Thank you,
purchase
Mr.
plow.
Johnson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCauley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Tuberville, nay.
All right, motion approves for the snow plow. All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is our police department report. Police and code by our acting chief.
We're gonna do the tree service
It's not
and-
on there.
and
Mayor, I'm sorry, you didn't get the revised agenda on there that you pulled up. There's 2 items.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
I pulled up the wrong one. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
The tree services and the ordinance for lunch.
All right, oh, yeah. Okay, so snow plow and then H, right?
Yes,
H, yes.
Okay. My apologies, Acting Chief. The next item is the consideration of approval to Bartlett Tree Services for the following work on the tree inventory. It's $5,520 to perform deep root fertilization on 48 trees throughout the town. And then $11,220 to sever the vines at the base of 68 trees and treat. $2,800 to perform scale, that's $2,850 to scale treatments on 37 trees. $19,000 for buried root collar root invigorations for 123 trees. $430 for bleeding canker treatment on 1 tree. Oh, where is that tree? $8,500 for maintenance pruning of 33 trees, $7,000 for the removal of 8 trees, and $1,200 $12,500 development pruning for 31 trees for a total cost of $67,000. This is using our ARPA funds, and we discussed it, and the trees are very important in our community. They're canopy trees. Some of them are native trees, and this type of service would preserve them or remove them that might cause damage in the community. Also, it's a big financial help to a lot of our residents. A lot of them cannot afford to remove the tree. The trees cause damage to the rooftops as well as our downspouts and gutters. So is there any discussion on that? Any comment, Mr. Barnes? Any feedback? No? Great. All right. So at this time.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
Wait, man, you gotta wait.
Yeah, apart from this, which again, we're using ARPA funds, and I have a request relative to an accounting of like the ARPA funds that we've used thus far. We're gonna have to remove some trees, I would assume, so for the sidewalk projects. Is that correct?
And
No, we don't remove trees unless there's some kind of invasive species or they're small, we go around trees.
Okay, so all of this is just completely apart from that.
Correct. And the ARPA funding accounting was sent out to you last week. And I'm happy to send it again with updates as they happen. I'll send it every week.
Okay, yeah, just because with the approval of this, we're talking over $100,000 of the ARPA funds that we're using on trees, on lights, and on a snowplow. And I'm concerned that we have not designated a significant portion of this money to be able to support our residents directly. So I'm just advising that it's not because I don't think these things are a bad idea. I just don't like the sequencing of it, that I'm likely to just be voting nay on use of ARPA funds until we've got the grant proposal for our residents figured out.
go ahead, Mr. Barnes, were you gonna say something? No. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Ms. Tuberville. But we have to use the ARPA funds. We could go back and forth about what we use the ARPA funds for, and the residents that are experiencing flooding in their homes. I believe that all of us are concerned about that. And believe it or not, none of us are directly impacted by it coming into our homes. Well, maybe on 52nd, right?
52nd comes in our own.
Yeah. But we're affected because it affects our residents. So I believe that we would like nothing more than to provide them financial assistance. And I think that's what we're doing. But also with the trees, it's also assisting them. As it was pointed out, you know, tree service is expensive to cut down a tree. And so we had the study done. We had the inventory done, which was fantastic. And so we know what needs to be done in the community with our trees. We have the opportunity to have this funding, and it's for our residents, it's for us. Otherwise, it would have to come out of things such as our reserves or some other funding. I don't know that a grant would provide it, but maybe so, I don't know. But this is one of those other opportunities that I feel that we're wisely using our ARPA funds. But I hear exactly what you're saying. And also, again, I believe that Mr. Barnes is being very clear and upfront as to how the ARPA funds are being utilized. He's providing us ideas ahead of time so that when it comes to us, voting, we can be, I guess, on the same, we don't necessarily have to be on the same page, but I just want to state that he's being very upfront about the ARPA funds and how we are utilizing it. But as a council member, it is your job to question and to ensure that we're doing the right things because it's your vote. So I appreciate your comments and everything, but I just wanted to say that about the trees and what we've paid for thus far. One thing I know is that he follows the guidelines to a T. So.
Oh, and Mayor, I'm not at all suggesting that like these are not potentially appropriate uses of ARPA funds.
Mhm.
I'm objecting to the sequencing of our decision making, and like we've known for a long time that flooding is a problem. It's the one thing that we hear from when we hear from our residents. That is the thing we hear from them about.
Mhm.
And I have a resident in my ward who has already they've already made an investment in their home that they weren't expecting to make because they've had to do flood mitigation in the short time that they've been here. And so, every single one of my neighbors has been like significantly affected by this flooding. And I just, I just think that should be our number one priority, is to provide as much resources as we can to support that. Like, that's the thing that will most directly help our residents.
Yeah.
So,
I
I'm sure
agree.
you're surprised to hear me say that, like, I do not think that up to $2,500, just reserving $250,000 when we've gotten $1.4 million from the ARPA funds for our residents, does the trick. So I'm just a little, I think the optics of this are not
Right.
terribly great for us either.
Right.
Even though I might, under different circumstances, totally support the expenditure of these funds for these purposes. I don't think it's at all untoward. I just don't think that we're sequencing things the right way.
Right.
But I think if
I
we
appreciate
don't
that.
do the
Thank you.
work on the trees, we lose the trees, that's gonna cause more flooding. The trees help stabilize the ground and help retain the water. Without the trees there, we're gonna have the flooding, on that area. Snowplow, if the guys can't get through the town to plow snow away from the drains and the sewers, you're gonna get the backup again and get flood there. So these are, even though it's not going into a resident's pocket, it's still helping with the flood.
Right.
Backed up gutters, from the leaves going on the houses. It's not going in their pocket, but in the long run, it's helping out each and every resident in the town.
Mhm. I agree.
I'll make the motion that we use Barlick Tree Service to do the work to, keep our trees safe and healthy.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McCulley. Is there a second to approve?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'll call it individually. Ms. McCulley, how do you vote?
Yay.
Ms. Chester? You said nay? Ms. McCulley?
No, I said yay, yes.
Oh, Ms. Chester?
Yay.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And Ms. Turberville?
Nay.
All right. The ayes have it. The yays have it. Motion passes. And I appreciate the conversation and your input on that. The next item is the introduction of ordinance 2022 OR-06, amending the personnel manual to clarify that the employee lunch break is not paid. And it's a wording issue. It says may instead of will, or may instead of shall for employee paid lunch. So at this time, I'm sorry. Oh, at this time, I'll accept a motion to amend the introduction to amend the personnel manual to clarify that the employee lunch break is not paid.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, I missed the discussion. I missed the discussion. Yes, Mr. Barnes.
Just to say that I'll send this now to Sue Ellen for her review and correct wording for the final approval at the next meeting.
Thank you. So that was the aye from Ms. McCully, Ms. Chester, Mr. Johnson, and Ms. Turberville.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna abstain because I just don't know enough about
Yeah.
like what is precipitating this. I'm sorry, I hate to abstain.
So
but
at this time, the employees are eating through their lunch and getting paid for it because the personnel manual says they may instead of they will or they shall take a 30-minute or 1-hour lunch, not paid. So for some time now, it's been difficult to enforce, or it has not been enforced. So this will change the wording, whereas it's very clear that they shall or will take a 30-minute or a 1-hour lunch, even if it means that they have to adjust their work schedule. So you say nay,
Okay.
right?
I'm just gonna abstain.
Oh, abstaining.
I'm gonna. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion passes. All right. So now we get to our acting chief.
All right, so this is the monthly police stats for the month of September. As of right now, we only have 1 felony assault, 1 theft from auto, and that's actually it. Everything else, we had 0 homicides, 0 forcible rapes, 0 burglaries, 0 auto thefts compared to August, we had 1, and 0 thefts compared to August, we had 1. In reference to the parking tickets, we had 16. We had 18 movement violations, 3 traffic arrests, which were DUIs, 2 crime arrests, 1 being the felony assault. We made an arrest on that the same day. 54 traffic stops, 20 vehicle impounds, 167 calls for service, and 79 rear light camera citations. The rear light camera generated $5,925, and we impounded, the revenue for impounds was $1,700 exactly. Any questions on that one?
Any questions for our acting chief?
No, I don't have it.
This right here is the code compliance activity for the month of September. She issued 8 municipal infractions. She put out 20 violation letters, which is the orange sticks that go on the vehicles or any other stop work orders. She had 0 stop work orders for any commercial establishment and any residential place. She did 1 rental inspection, issued 5 parking citation, did 1 business inspection, had 8 code follow-ups and 0 vehicle impounds. So part of her activity, she has been in contact with Washington Gas. She finally got them to cut the grass at the corner of Buchanan and Tanglewood, the big light that's on there. I think it's 4901 Buchanan. She's also working with the representatives from our work to offer a digital option for new applicants and a renewal for business and rental licensing, as well as other permits expected to launch on October 19th, 2022. She also met with business owners on Buchanan Street about unwanted parked vehicles. And she also is meeting with the county to remove all of the unwanted vehicles at a later date and time. And that is it. Any questions for the code compliance activity report?
Thank you very much. Any questions concerning crime stats or code?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry. Can you, Chief Bill, can you just describe a little bit more about what is happening for the Domestic Violence Month?
So we're getting our Dodge Charger, the 2012 Dodge Charger is getting wrapped in purple. And as a representative for the Domestic Violence Month, the wrap was approved yesterday. I signed the last piece of the approval, and it should be here by the end of this week, early part of next week. We're going to take it up to the shop. They're going to rewrap it with the domestic violence colors and ribbons with the domestic violence information. So on the Charger, you're going to see on the windows is the important telephone number that you can call, as well as the website that you could visit. And the reason we decided to do it that way is because this cruise is going to be driven throughout the county, throughout the town. It's going to be at every event. So domestic violence is a year-long issue that plagues the community. So at least if somebody is going through something in October, November, December, if they just see our cruiser, they'll be able to get information from that police car. We also have brochures and business cards that we're going to keep inside the car that we can give out at events. So even when it's parked at this, don't go anywhere else. We're also going to try to go door to door and give out some information as well.
Oh, fantastic.
And just to be clear, it's not a new car.
No, it's not a new car. It's one of the spare cars we have. Just getting a different look away from. It's still gonna have the town green in there, of course, but it's gonna be green and purple.
All right, thanks.
Very good.
Just in time for Easter.
What'd you say, just in time for Easter?
Yeah, the Easter colors. Green and
Oh.
purple.
All right. Any other questions, comments for our acting chief? Oh, and thank you so much for the work you're doing. And I also wanted to mention, as I mentioned in our work session, that we're looking at adjusting some timeframes so that we could be more customer service oriented. All right, thank you. Mr. Barnes?
Good evening, all. Just a few reminders. Tuesday, October 25th at 7, and here at Town Hall, we're doing the final workshop on the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Please, if you can attend, we would be happy for that. Park and Planning has done, and the consultant has done a great job working on this. Then the action after this is the actual final report. Chief Bill didn't mention this, but he.
Real quick, what's the date on that?
Tuesday, October 25th, 7 p.m.
Thanks.
Chief Bill didn't mention this, but the police department is coordinating the trunk or treat for Friday night, October 28th. The Ghost and Goblins will be out at the rec center. He worked with obtaining a co-sponsor from Fountain Park Apartments, donating, is it 3,000 pieces of candy, Chief?
Yeah, 3,000 pieces.
And we have hay rides going through the park. We have the 360 on-site DJ and all the decorating that will go on. So it should be a fun evening for the children, and it usually gets big attendance. In November, we have casino night back on a Friday. November 4th, we'll be doing a casino night with seniors and honoring our vets here in the community. So they'll get a dinner that evening, and those that can't attend, we will take a dinner to them for their service to the country and recognize them. So we're excited about that. Election, as you mentioned, is November 8th. You also, in the work session decided that we'd go to a hybrid in-person meeting starting November 1st. So those that want to do Zoom will still be able to do that. And the residents will be doing Zoom, but those of you that staff and council want to attend in person will be allowed to do that. And then election day is Tuesday, November 8th. The building's closed for business, but is open for election, as is the rec center for that particular service. We'll be doing turkey baskets again this year, a little bit later in November. The time is going fast. I had 6 children come in today to sign up for Adopt a Child already. And I was just like taken back at that, realizing that Christmas is not so far away. So we'll be working on that program. And I just, again, I said this in the work session, but I'll say it again here. Avery did a really great job with our partnering up with Greater Riverdale Thrives for the Hispanic Heritage Fair on Saturday. It was a beautiful day, lots of people involved, lots of vendors. She managed it well and solved some issues along the way and really strengthened that partnership. So hats off to her and her efforts with that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Any questions for Mr. Barnes?
You said trunk or treat is at the rec center, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes,
On the paper it says Edmonston Town Hall.
Yeah, we had having Anna redo it. I think that was one of the ones that was prematurely sent out, but we are scheduling to send them out this week, actually.
All right.
It ended up being larger than initially planned. So initially it was going to be at the town hall, as it usually is, and then it became a little larger, which is great. And then
So
I'm sorry.
are we gonna do it like we used to do it at a rec center? Like a
No,
Halloween party type?
no, it's going to be like it was done at the town hall, except this and then added a little bit bigger. And then maybe I should let acting chief finish, but then it allows the residents to actually stay, because when they come to the town hall, they usually go through and go right on around and out. So go ahead, Chief Beal.
Yeah, so we decided to make it the rec center because, as the mayor said, when we had it last year, it was like they were just funneling through. It wasn't too much for it to do, but come get the candy and then take a picture, then head back out. So this year we decided to use the rec because not only can you come get the candy and hang out, we have the 360 photography thing where you could take a picture, or have the little spinning camera take a picture of you in your costume. We have the hayride, Rob ordered 100 pumpkins, and then we're also coming up with an idea for a mini scavenger hunt while we're there. So it's going to be different activities for them to do. Since last year when we just had them funnel through the parking lot, I don't think we had too much community engagement when we did it that way. So we're trying to do it some type kind of different.
I'm excited about it. You okay? Pop-up J is in here. Any other questions? I muted myself accidentally. Oh, is that the signal? Hillary, oh, I like that. And so I'll start with you.
Oh, sure. So I, as you did, attended the Maryland Municipal League Fall Conference, went to a couple different sessions, including one on stormwater management and flood response mitigation. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this a couple months ago, but so as part of the, let me get this correct, the Advancing Stormwater Resiliency in Maryland, which is a storm, which is like, this is that multi-year plan and a big initiative that Maryland's Department of Environment is doing. primarily in updating things like the flood maps and updating, using more updated data for rainfall projections in order to look forward and project out what rainfall and stormwater needs and patterns might be, recognizing that the data they'd been using was very old and outdated. And then they're going to be putting together plans for updating systems and making them more green, more innovative, but also just looking to replace and restore really old and sort of broken and outdated systems. So they put together an advisory group. I applied to be on it, but was not selected. I guess they had like hundreds. It sounded like people want to be on this advisory group. So they have a small advisory group, and then they also now have some technical advisory groups or kind of tech teams where they have people who have real expertise in a couple different areas. And so they've had one call at the end of September. The next call will be October 18th. And it's open, anyone, it's an open meeting, a Maryland open meeting. And so anyone can call in and at least listen in. There may or may not be a public comment period in the meeting. I wasn't really clear on that, but I will find the dates and the call-in. I mean, the date's the 18th, but I'll find the call-in information for that and circulate that, Mr. Barnes, and maybe you can send it out. I will plan on calling in, and then hopefully other people as well. But I did speak with Mr. Knapp, who is from the Maryland Department of the Environment, and he knows us very well. He knows the Edmonston pumping station and the problems we've been having, being a very much sort of like downstream, a lot of water coming towards us, and that we are our stormwater that falls within Edmonston, but that being at the end of the line is problematic, and that a lot of water is directed towards us. So it was a good session. They know us, which is positive, and we'll just kind of keep following up with them.
Thank you, Ms. Chester, for your report. Appreciate that. Ms. Tuberville?
No, I just appreciate, what all of my fellow council members and the mayor and Rod have been doing. I want to make a suggestion that if it's possible for us to maybe within the next week have a little bit of a, maybe we could have like a special work session just on what to do with this grant project and what to do with the ARPA funds. I think that could be helpful for us, so we can just get some decisions made and move ahead with various projects.
That's what our work sessions are for.
Yeah.
I don't think we need a special get together. I think at our work session, if everybody, we'll have, Rod keeps sending out updates, and I think at our next work session, we'd already talked about it, that we're, going to work on the final touches for the money for the floods.
Yeah.
I was just going to suggest that we just move that up just so we can, because I know that time is of the essence. And each time we talk about this, it's a concern about needing to spend the money. And so I thought it might be wise for us just to have some time just dedicated specifically to what we want to do with the funds. It's just a suggestion.
To me, we have so much going on in this next month before the next work session. I don't see where I have
the cooling,
the time to, I mean, I think our next work session, we're probably, I would say 90% there of having everything finalized. And I think the next work session, we can get it done and have it up and going by December 1st.
Yeah.
I'm not for having a special session.
We had and I know you've been experiencing some difficulties, but we had the work session last week in which we opened it for that discussion, as well as this week. So last week we had poor attendance, and I actually took the time to come, which, as Ms. McCauley said, her schedule is really busy. And then we had this week, we started at 5 earlier time to again have discussion on, this session now, as well as ARPA funding, as well as requested, Mr. Barnes is sending out updates and totally available for discussion. And I am not saying that we can't discuss it during our work sessions, and really a lot, stop it, Ms. McCauley laughing at me, and a lot time for that. But please consider that all of us have a tight schedule, and we are all very, very, I know you know, but I want to say it for our public. We are all very concerned, especially for those who are experiencing flooding, but also those who haven't experienced the flooding in their home. They are our residents too. So we're responsible for the whole picture. I know you know, but I need to ensure that our hearts, our minds, our everything is for our residents. And our time, and we've even given residents a time to speak on it. No one has really showed up, but that's okay, because they have lives too. And it's our responsibility to try to do as much as we can, as best we can, upstandingly, for our residents. So I said all of that to say that an additional day for a meeting is not conducive to the majority of our lifestyles right now, especially if we
Okay.
have them and no one shows.
No, I understand that. Okay, if that's what the will of the group is, then that's fine.
Okay. Ms. McCauley, did you have a report?
Not a report. I want to say that our youth night and the walking to the bridge, I did miss the walk to the bridge, but everything that went on down at the rec center, that was so awesome. That was a lot of fun. All the different departments were down there. We had other outside agencies down there, and that was just a good time. And I tell you what, that hopefully everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tracy, Chief, and Rod for putting all that together, because I know that wasn't an easy thing, but
Miss
it
Avery.
looked great. It was awesome.
Avery was a big component of that, so
Sorry, Avery,
thanks
I
to
didn't
her.
see your name. I see Rick's name up on my screen, but I didn't see yours. So since I can't see your face, not that I forgot you, but I did.
It was a unanimous decision that we need to bring back the trail lights for Halloween.
Oh, that would be great.
Yes.
That would be really
yes.
nice.
Really.
Really.
I was
Luminaries.
surprised that no one ruined it. Like no one moved it or anything. And I saw more people, I thought, on that trail for some odd reason. It was such a great idea. Such a great idea.
That was, and I'm going to say one thing about the funds for, and I've said more, residents have to get flood insurance. That's their responsibility. So when we have flooding, they have flooding. If they have the flood insurance, they're good to go. It's not my neighbor next door's responsibility to take care of my house in a flood. it's not Mr. Johnson's responsibility to take care of someone on 52nd Avenue with a flood. It's each homeowner, each rental, each person that's renting, they need to step up to the plate, take responsibility, and get renters insurance. I think it's great that we're going to be able to help some of the residents, but we got to take in consideration the whole town and what's best for the whole town, not for 4 or 5 people, 100 people, whatever it is.
I was gonna say 90, 96.
Well, but and it's more than that because a lot of people don't report it. I mean, you can go down 52nd Avenue and everybody's basement flooded. And you know what? Everybody on the street helped each other out.
It's true.
We took care of the problem. But the biggest thing is if you flood, get the flood insurance and then you're good to go. You're covered. So I'll end it on that note.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Johnson?
I just want to say Saturday was a pretty good turnout. Everything, they had a lot of information booths out there, and hopefully a lot of people took advantage of it. And also there's 2 holes over there on the field, and I stuck 2 cones down in there so nobody, because one lady, she actually stepped in, almost broke her leg. And I stuck 2 cones, in a cone in each hole. But now I look out there, the people, they take the cones out the holes and use them to play soccer. So need to get parking planning to see about getting those holes filled, because it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
I'll let Frank
Unfortunately,
and, I'll
Go
let
ahead.
Frank and Roger know, and they can fill them.
Frank and Roger.
That's all I have.
Well, thank you. For me, just to piggyback on Ms. Chester, that we went to the fall conference, which was a really good fall conference this year. After 27 years, the executive director, Scott Hancock, is retiring. He was the I don't know if I want to say the backbone, but he was the backbone, he was a driving force of the league. And along with the staff is awesome at the league. I mean, awesome, top notch. But 27 years, he's going to retire. So we honored him one evening for a reception. I didn't see Miss Ferguson there, but Karen and Alyssa were there. And so it was really a great evening. Past presidents honored him with so he asked for no gifts. And of course, people gave gifts, but not much. So the past presidents provided a scholarship in the name of Scott Hancock. So that went over well. Was started, I think we ended up putting in, we donated, our town donated, and the total amount thus far is $2,500. And that's just from the past presidents, the living past presidents. So I should say that. And speaking of which, I attended the funeral for one of the past presidents, which was David Harrington, mayor of Bladensburg. He was a council member. He was a senator, CEO of the Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce. And then his last position was at Kaiser Permanente. So he will be greatly missed. He was the icon of Prince George's County, shall I say? Not just our community. We were blessed to have him, but Prince George's County. So, and a driving force with any strategic plan we had initially. So also with the conference, I attended a cyber security session, which I thought was it was a graduate class. I thought it was going to be boring. It was really interesting. And one of the things that was noted, that some of our smaller towns, such as ours, we don't really have the walls that are necessary. It's almost like we're a target in some cases. So I guess we need to probably step up our game. We don't have an IT department in-house, but we did hire an outside IT department, which is a fantastic move. That's one of the recommendations that they provided us. And along with the MML, Maryland Municipal League, they are starting affinity groups, which are groups that help diversify us together. So you meet as an affinity group, and you can function as a standalone under MML, but then there's opportunity for us, almost like what we have is our multicultural group. So they're separate groups, but then you come together so that we can learn and understand one another, the differences, yet those things that are the same. So I think that's a really a great move forward. There is a new and they're now called the CEO. I don't know if you met her, Ms. Chester, or not. Her first name is Teresa. Her last name is, I forgot. It's different. Do you know Ms. Ferguson? No. Can you hear me, Sue Ellen? No. Okay. Great. Great. And the last session that I took on yesterday was actually conducted by Donzel Robinson, which was awesome. It was about inequity, diversity, and engagement as to how we can target and engage our communities. So I thought that was a great class. I only could stay half of the class. It was from 1 to 3. I stayed until a little after 2. But I wanted to thank everyone for their participation in the Unity Rally. I believe it was awesome. It was greater than before. And hopefully it brought some awareness to parents and some of the youth that attended. And the ending ceremony was beautiful. So thank you for every little touch that you made. Thank you always, Ms. Chester, for your being able to, your biracialness. Well, I wouldn't say biracial, bilingualness, not biracial, bilingual, and just being able to use those gifts that you have. Thank you so much. And Miss Avery, the work that you do on any of our events, not passing over Mr. Barnes, but Miss Avery, I know you work hard and you are in there, and you're excited about doing those things. I was very, very happy. I'm telling you, when I mentioned it earlier about the family at the table, the Edmonston table, it was just so different on that day, last Saturday. It was just, everyone was just eating together and talking and helping everyone out. So that was really great. So I contribute government, our government department, our administrative department, as well as our police department, because I tell you, it was the police and the employees, as well as Ms. Chester and Mr. Johnson. He was running the gym, but it was just like a family. I like that. So that's good. That means we're moving forward into some things that are positive. And then to end, I just want to extend again condolences and heartfelt, Ms. Tuberville, and the loss of your mother, the passing of your mother. And I know it's a challenge. I have not experienced it, and Lord knows we don't want to experience it, but we know as age and the succession plan is that they go before us. And I know it just changes our whole everything, our heart, our mind, picking up the telephone, that visit, everything. So my heart goes out to you, and I know I don't want to speak for anyone else, but my heart goes out to you. I know that you have been dealing with that, and it has not been easy, and it can't be easy. So I just wanted to extend that to you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's very kind, and I really appreciate that.
So with that, if there are no further comments, questions, concerns, Mr. Barnes, yes, unmute.
The name of the new director at the league is Teresa Coons, Kuhns.
He's so awesome. He's so awesome. Thank you, Coons.
Mhm.
Yeah, the new CEO.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right. So if we don't have anything else, I'll accept the motion to adjourn our meeting this evening.
I'll make the
I make a
motion.
motion with this meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Ms. McCauley. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Good night. Be safe.
Good night, all.
Aye.